All right, and we are back here on the GSMC Football Podcast. And for the fourth part of the show, we're going to talk about Deshaun Watson, but I wanted to get into what a NFL scout had to say about Deshaun Watson. So let's kind of get into that, what he had to say, and I'll give you my thoughts, because I know I've talked about Deshaun Watson quite a bit on the show. So this is what an NFL scout had to say about Deshaun Watson. He said, when Cleveland acquired Deshaun, he gave promise of superstar production. It hasn't gone well yet, but that success is coming in 2024. He has never been so locked in and motivated. I think this is the season that the Browns feel really good about the King's ransom they traded to get him. That's what the scout said. And this is an article that was on Sports Illustrated. So, some interesting thoughts there. And, yeah, it hasn't been great for Deshaun Watson. Played in 6 games last season. Had a 61.4 completion percentage on his pass attempts. And, 1,115 passing yards, 7 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. Yeah, it hasn't been great. And, you go back to his last season in Houston, 33 touchdowns to 7 interceptions, which is really good. But I think just the combination of that time off and, everything that happened off the field, that whole situation, which I'm not going to get into, it's just, and combined with injuries, I just feel like, I don't know if we're going to see that Deshaun Watson. But it seems like, but at least from this NFL scout, they feel confident that, and they didn't give the name in the article, so they feel confident that Deshaun Watson can get it done. Now, the other thing I wanted to talk about is the Browns' offensive line, because that was one of the things that was one of the other injuries that the Browns offensive line got ravaged by injuries last year. And at least on Pro Football Focus, and of course when I go to open up the link to the article that I had, they had the Browns offensive line ranked in the top 5. And, and injuries were a problem last year. Not just for the quarterback position, but you also had, running back. And, I believe their top 3 tackles, the Browns, got hurt last year. So, I think if you give Deshaun Watson better protection as well, that definitely, will be something that's a positive for them. But I don't know. I just feel like Deshaun Watson, he's been inaccurate and he turns the ball over even before he got hurt. I just feel like, I don't know. I think the peak of Deshaun, I don't think we're going to see that. But, who knows? And, they added Jerry Jeudy to the receiving corps. They gave him a 3-year extension. So, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be interesting how it all plays out. But like I've been saying, I don't think we're going to see peak Deshaun Watson, but I do think that he's going to be good enough where the Browns are going to be a very good team in 2024. I think when you have Nick Chubb coming back, and they're going to try to ease him back into it. You got Jerome Ford. They signed Deontay Foreman, Nyheim Hines, who's coming off of his own injury. They got a lot of depth at the running back position where, they could afford to ease Chubb back into it. And Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt last year did a nice job filling in for Chubb when he got hurt. The receiving core, I know we talked about Amari Cooper looking for a new deal, so you're hoping that the Browns can figure it out and get that all situated because he's been solid for them since Dallas traded him to Cleveland. But yeah, you got him. You have Jerry Jeudy now. You got Elijah Moore. You got David Njoku. And, if this offensive line is healthy, like I said, the Browns got a solid offense. And then combined with a defense that was, top of the league last year, although, they got shredded in the playoff game against the Texans. This is going to be a very good team. But ultimately, I think when it comes to, the Browns and for other teams as well, it's really going to come down to the quarterback play. Because the Browns got Deshaun Watson to take them even further than what Baker Mayfield did, during the COVID season. And so far, They haven't gotten back to the divisional round. 2021 they missed the playoffs. 2022 same thing, missed the playoffs. Last year they made it, despite starting 5 different starting quarterbacks. But yeah, that game didn't go so well against Houston. But they are looking to, get back, have a healthy season, and Deshaun Watson comes out and, plays really well. And maybe he does. Like I said, I don't think Deshaun Watson is going to be awful. I just don't think we're going to see the Deshaun Watson that we saw in Houston. Because, like I said, I went over, his stats from 2020. I don't think we're going to see that Deshaun Watson. But, if we see a version of that, that's going to make the Browns a very dangerous team. Like I said, you got to limit the turnovers and stay healthy, and be accurate. Because I know there's been times where, Deshaun's throwing the ball in the dirt, and it's just, yeah, he just. But even when he was with Houston, he was throwing the ball in the dirt sometimes. Like, he's not really the best passer. I mean, listen, what made me like, when he first came into the league, made me really like become a fan of Deshaun Watson. Obviously, before, everything that happened, off the field. That game against the Seahawks, his rookie season, that was an unbelievable game that he had, and we are so far removed from that. Against the Legion of Boom in Seattle. Now, they might have lost that game, the Texans, but that was the game where I was like, wow, this guy is really good. And then, again, obviously, things kind of changed, and, it's with everything that happened. But we're so far removed from that. And if we get that Deshaun Watson, that was, throwing for a ton of yards against the Legion of Boom in his rookie season, like I said, the Browns are going to be dangerous. But, I don't think we're going to see that. So we'll have to wait and see how it goes. This is a big year for him. I think there's a lot of pressure on him because, I don't know what's going to happen after this year if he doesn't play well. Do they move off of him? I mean, right now, kind of made a mistake trading for him. Maybe you should have kept Baker around. Because, at Baker, his final season in Cleveland, he was hurt. He wasn't healthy. So, you give him another chance, maybe he does get you to the playoffs. You got the Buccaneers to the playoffs, right? But I don't know. But when the Browns traded for Deshaun Watson, at the time you thought, well, I mean, yeah, they are a better team with Deshaun Watson than Baker Mayfield. But right now, look at the Texans and look at the Buccaneers making the playoffs with Baker Mayfield. The Browns, yeah, they made the playoffs, but, you had Joe Flacco starting. And Joe Flacco, that was a great story. That was one of the best stories of last year, was Joe Flacco coming off of his couch and, playing those final, few games in the regular season and then playing in the postseason game, which, again, didn't go well. But still, like, give Flacco credit. He came in and he got the Browns to the playoffs, and the Browns fans will always love Joe Flacco, even though he, was the Ravens quarterback for so many years. But which I honestly think they should have kept Flacco, but they have, they got Jameis Winston, they got Pro Bowl quarterback Tyler Huntley on the team as well, so they do have depth at the quarterback position. So even if Deshaun Watson gets hurt, I think these guys could step in, and it's not like the Browns, are going to just. It just would have to be another season like last year, which they're hoping that's not the case. But they are. I think they are equipped for a Deshaun Watson injury. Now, Jameis is going to come in, and what does Jameis do? Jameis throws for a ton of yards, but you know what else Jameis does? He turns the ball over. But, I mean, Jameis Winston, he can win you games. Tyler Huntley, he can win you games as well. Started in a playoff game. Almost won it. So the Browns have dealt with it before, but they are hoping that that's not the case. Deshaun Watson comes out, plays really well, and the Browns become a force in the AFC. Because if Deshaun Watson is really good, you got to put the Browns up there as one of the elite teams in the AFC. The problem is they play in an elite division because You got the Steelers, and then, of course, you got the top two teams, in my opinion, the Bengals and the Ravens. So, it's going to be interesting. It's going to be interesting, but at least with this NFL scout, they feel very confident that Deshaun Watson's going to go out there and play really well. I know I've done a bunch of topics on, Stefanski commenting on Deshaun, the GM. They feel like this could be the year. So only time will tell. But if it's not the year, if Deshaun Watson goes out there and does not play well, yeah, they got a problem. They got a problem. So, but that's really my thoughts on it. Let me know what you guys think. How do you see Deshaun Watson performing in 2024? Again, it's a big year for him, and we'll see how it goes. But this could be his last shot. If he plays awful, he could be done in Cleveland. But if he kind of has like a middle of the road season, Browns make the playoffs, maybe he does well in the playoffs, that buys him some more time. But we'll see. Does he return to his Pro Bowl self? Anyways, we're going to go to a break. And then when we come back, we will talk about the Raiders. We'll talk about, Devontae Adams, his comments on Antonio Pierce as, he's going to be going into his first full season as the coach of the Raiders. I know we did go over the Raiders schedule yesterday. Really didn't have I didn't have the Raiders finishing with the best record. I think I only had them winning 6 or 7 games around there. But that is what we will discuss when we come back from our final break of the show. So, with that being said, stick around, and we'll be right back here on the GSMC Football Podcast.